Rain hammers against the metal dumpster in the back alley of the Sovereign, drowning out the heavy bass thumping from inside the club. Amara shivers, her thin uniform soaked through instantly. The smell of stale champagne and wet asphalt fills her nose as she heaves another heavy bag of trash over the rim. Her arms burn. Her feet, crammed into cheap black flats, throb with every step. It is 2 a.m. in Chicago, and while the city's elite drink $1,000 bottles of wine inside, Amara is invisible. Just another pair of hands cleaning up their mess. She wipes rainwater from her eyes and grabs the last bag. It splits open. Rotting lemon rinds, soggy napkins, and broken glass spill onto the wet concrete. Amara gasps, dropping to her knees to scoop it up before the manager comes out and docks her pay. She can't afford to lose a single cent. Her brother, Malik, is waiting at home with a cough that sounds like rattling chains, and the surgery he needs costs more than she makes in 5 years. Something glints in the pile of refuse. It isn't glass. It doesn't shimmer like a sequin or a lost earring. It has a dull, heavy matte finish. Amara reaches out, her fingers brushing against something cold and rigid. She pulls it free and wipes it on her apron. It is a credit card, but not just any card. It is made of black anodized titanium, heavy in her palm. The name embossed on the front isn't a bank name. It is a single signature, Lucius Cross. There is no chip, no expiration date, just a magnetic strip and a symbol of a black lion. She freezes. Everyone in Chicago knows the name Cross. They own the docks, the trucking lines, and half the politicians. This is a black card, a myth whispered about in break rooms. No limit, no questions asked. Her heart slams against her ribs. She looks around the empty alley. No cameras here. No witnesses. Just the rain and the dark. If she walks away with this, she could go to an ATM 3 towns over. She could pay for the surgery tonight. She could disappear. The temptation hits her like a physical blow, tightening her throat. It isn't greed, it is survival. If you found a ticket to freedom in the garbage, knowing the owner had millions to spare, would you keep it to save your family, or return it to a man who might kill you for looking at him wrong? It is the kind of choice that defines a soul. Before we start, make sure to hit like and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. Amara stands up, clutching the cold metal against her chest. Inside, the music swells, a taunting reminder of the wealth just beyond the brick wall. She thinks of Malik's face, pale and trusting. She thinks of the eviction notice on her kitchen table. The card burns her skin. It was in the trash. Technically, it was discarded. Is it stealing if it was thrown away? She takes a step toward the street. Her pulse roars in her ears. Just one swipe. That is all it would take. But then, a terrifying thought stops her. Men like Lucius Cross don't lose things, and if they do, they tear the world apart looking for them. She looks at the card, then at the heavy steel door leading back into the club. The rain runs down her face like tears. She is terrifyingly alone, holding a bomb that could save her life or end it. She turns back toward the door. She isn't going to run, but she isn't sure she is going to survive the next 10 minutes either. Amara pushes through the heavy steel door, the warmth of the kitchen hitting her instantly. The air smells of truffle oil and seared steak, a sharp contrast to the rotting garbage outside. She keeps her hand in her apron pocket, fingers clenched white around the black card. "Move it, Amara." The floor manager barks, clapping his hands. Table 4 needs clearing, now. She nods, keeping her head down. "Yes, sir." She moves through the kitchen, the noise of clattering pans and shouting chefs fading as she pushes into the main lounge. The Sovereign is a cathedral of gold and velvet. Crystal chandeliers hang like frozen fireworks above the heads of men in bespoke suits and women in dresses that cost more than Amara's entire life. She weaves through the crowd, invisible. That is her superpower here. She is a ghost. She clears empty glasses, wipes down marble surfaces, and dodges the careless gestures of the wealthy. But her mind is racing. The card in her pocket feels like it weighs 100 pounds. She nears the VIP section, a raised platform cordoned off by velvet ropes and massive security guards. This is where Lucius Cross is sitting. She knows it because the air is different there, quieter, sharper. Through the gap in the heavy curtains, she sees them. An older man with silver hair and eyes like flint sits at the head of the table. Lucius. Beside him is a younger man, devastatingly handsome, but looking bored enough to burn the place down. Zaire Cross. And hanging onto Zaire's arm is a woman in a shimmering red dress, Portia. Amara watches as a waiter approaches their table with a bottle of champagne. The waiter, a nervous young man named Leo, trembles slightly as he pours. A single drop spills onto the tablecloth. "You idiot!" Portia shrieks, the sound cutting through the ambient jazz. She stands up and shoves Leo. The bottle slips from his hand and shatters. "Do you know how much these shoes cost? Get out of my sight. You're fired." Leo stammers, terrified, looking at Zaire for help. Zaire just sips his drink, looking away. Lucius doesn't even blink. Amara's stomach twists. These people are monsters. They destroy lives over spilled wine. Why should she help them? Why should she return something so valuable to people who treat humans like dirt? Her father's voice echoes in her mind, stubborn and annoying. Integrity isn't for them, Amara. It's for you. It's so you can sleep at night. "I hate you sometimes, Dad," she whispers to herself. She takes a deep breath, smoothing her stained apron. She can't keep the card. Not because she is afraid of them, but because keeping it would make her like them, taking what isn't hers just because she can. She walks toward the security guard. He is a mountain of a man with an earpiece. "I need to speak to Mr. Cross," she says, her voice trembling but clear. The guard looks her up and down, sneering at her wet hair and dirty shoes. "Staff entrance is back that way, sweetheart. Get lost." "It's urgent," she insists, pressing her hand against her pocket. "I found something of his." The guard steps forward, blocking her path, his shadow falling over her. "I said, get lost. Before I throw you out." Amara stands her ground. She is shaking, but she lifts her chin. She is about to do something stupid. She is about to push past a mafia enforcer. She raises her hand to knock on the partition wall, right as the guard reaches for her arm. The guard's hand clamps onto Amara's shoulder, his grip like a vice. "Last warning," he growls. "Let her in," a deep voice commands from inside the booth. The guard freezes, then instantly releases her, stepping back with a terrified nod. The curtain is pulled back. Zaire Cross is staring right at her. His eyes are dark, intelligent, and completely unreadable. He saw the commotion. Amara steps onto the raised platform. The silence is absolute. It feels like stepping into a lion's den. The air smells of expensive cologne and danger. Portia is glaring at her, looking her up and down with disgust. Lucius Cross hasn't turned around. He is still staring at his drink. "Well?" Portia snaps, crossing her arms. "What does the trash want? Did you come to beg for the waiter's job? Because we don't hire clumsy idiots." Amara ignores her. She walks straight to the head of the table. Her legs feel like jelly, but she forces them to move. She stops beside Lucius. Up close, he looks tired. There are lines of pain etched around his mouth that the dim light hides from a distance. "Excuse me, sir," Amara says. She reaches into her pocket. The movement makes the security guards behind her tense up, hands reaching inside their jackets. Zaire watches her hand closely, his muscles coiled, ready to strike if she pulls a weapon. Instead, she pulls out the black metal card wrapped in a clean cocktail napkin. She places it gently on the table next to his whiskey glass. "I believe you dropped this in the bin outside," she says softly. For 3 seconds, nobody breathes. Portia lets out a sharp, incredulous laugh. "In the bin? Oh, please. You probably stole it from his coat and got scared when you saw the security cameras. You're trying to play the hero to save your skin." She turns to Lucius. "Lucius, have her arrested. She's a thief and a liar. Look at her shoes. She's desperate." Amara flinches but doesn't look away from Lucius. "I didn't steal it. It was in the trash. I was taking it out." Zaire leans forward, picking up the card. He spins it through his fingers, the metal flashing. He looks at his father, a question in his eyes. "Father, you haven't carried this card in 5 years." Lucius finally moves. He turns his head slowly, looking first at the card, then at Portia, and finally, he lifts his gaze to meet Amara's. His eyes are terrifying cold, calculating, and ancient. He studies her face like he is reading a map. He sees the exhaustion, the poverty, the fear, but also the steel in her spine. He stands up. The movement is stiff, painful. He towers over the table. "I didn't lose it," Lucius says. His voice is a low rumble that vibrates through the floorboards, silencing the room. "And she didn't steal it." He looks at Zaire, his expression grim. "I planted it." Chapter 4, the words hang in the air like smoke. "I planted it." Portia's smug smile falters. "What? What do you mean you planted it?" Lucius ignores her. He keeps his eyes on Amara. "For 3 weeks, I have left wallets, watches, and cash in places where the staff would find them. Everyone took something. The valet took the cash. The coat check girl took the watch." He gestures to the card. This was the final test. The hardest one. A black card with no limit in a trash can, where no cameras could see. He turns to Zaire. "You need a wife who understands value." Zaire. "Not someone who just knows how to spend. You need someone who can hold the keys to the kingdom and not sell them for a quick buck." Lucius turns his cold gaze on Portia. "You walked past that bin 10 minutes before she did. You show it. I watched you on the hidden feed. You kicked the trash bag out of your way. It was trash." Portia shrieks, standing up, her face flushing red. "Why would I touch trash? I'm a cross. Or I will be." "You are a liability," Lucius says calmly. "You are dismissed. Get out. Zaire." Portia grabs Zaire's arm, digging her nails in. "Are you going to let him talk to me like this? I'm your fiancée." Zaire looks at Portia's hand on his arm, then peels her fingers off one by one. His face is blank, devoid of emotion. "You heard him, Portia. You failed." Security. 2 guards step forward. Portia screams as they grab her arms, dragging her away from the table. She kicks and spits, cursing them all, but the machine of the Cross family is efficient. In seconds, she is gone. Amara stands there, stunned. She feels like she has wandered into a play she doesn't know the lines for. She turns to leave. I should get back to work." "No," Lucius says. "You don't work for the sovereign anymore." Amara freezes. Panic grips her. "Sir, please. I need this job." Your brother has pulmonary stenosis," Lucius interrupts. "He needs a valve replacement at St. Jude's. The surgery is scheduled for Thursday. It has been paid for." Amara's knees give out. She grabs the edge of the table to steady herself. How? How do you know that? I know everything about the people I test, Lucius says. He sits back down, looking suddenly very old and very tired. You returned a fortune to me. I am returning the favor. But I need one more thing from you. He slides a piece of paper across the table. It is a contract. My son needs a wife. A real one. Someone I can trust not to stab him in the back when I'm gone. The job pays $1 million a year, plus expenses. You save him. You save your brother. Amara looks at Zaire. He is staring at her with intense, hostile curiosity. He doesn't look like a man who wants to be saved. He looks like a man who wants to dismantle her to see how she works. Zaire stands up and walks around the table, cornering her. He is tall, looming over her, smelling of danger and spice. He leans down, his voice a whisper only she can hear. My father trusts you because you passed his little game, Zaire says, his eyes dark and dangerous. But I don't. Accept the deal if you want, Amara. But know this. I will be watching every move you make. The transition from scrubbing floors to riding in a bulletproof Maybach is violent. 1 minute Amara is invisible, the next. She is the center of a storm. It has been 24 hours since she signed the contract. She hasn't slept. She spent the night at the hospital with Malik, watching the doctors prep him for the surgery she could never afford. When the lead surgeon told her the bill was settled in full by the Cross Foundation, she wept in the hallway. That was the hook. She is owned now. The car hums silently as it glides through the city streets. Amara sits in the back, stiff and uncomfortable in a charcoal gray dress that Zaire's assistant dropped off this morning. The fabric is soft as butter, hugging her curves, but it feels like a costume. Zaire sits next to her, typing on a tablet. He hasn't spoken a word since she got in. He treats her like a piece of luggage his father forced him to carry. We are going to the penthouse, Zaire says suddenly, not looking up. You will live there. Security protocols require it. I have an apartment, Amara says. I need to pack. Your apartment is a security risk, Zaire replies, finally looking at her. His gaze is clinical, assessing. My team packed your things. Anything they deemed suitable is already there. The rest was discarded. Discarded? Amara bristles. You threw away my things? My photos? My mother's books? Stored, Zaire corrects, his tone bored. Not thrown away. Relax. You are hyperventilating. I am not. The car screeches to a halt. Amara is thrown forward, the seatbelt catching her hard across the chest. Stay down, the driver shouts. Zaire moves instantly. His hand is on the back of Amara's neck, forcing her head down below the window line. His body covers hers, a heavy, solid weight. He draws a gun from inside his jacket with a fluid, practiced motion. Thwack. Something hits the bulletproof glass right next to Amara's head. It isn't a bullet. Zaire glances up, then swears softly. He sits up, pulling Amara with him but keeping his arm tight around her shoulders. Stuck to the window by a suction cup is a single, dead, black rose. Amara stares at it, her heart hammering against her ribs. What is that? Zaire's jaw is clenched so tight a muscle jumps in his cheek. He stares at the dead flower, his eyes narrowing into slits of pure rage. He recognizes the sign. It is a calling card from the syndicate's oldest rival, the Vipers. It's a welcome gift, Zaire says, his voice ice cold. He looks at Amara, and for a second, she sees genuine fear in his eyes, not for himself, but for the complication she represents. They know about you, already. He turns to the driver. Get us to the safe house, now. Amara looks at the dead rose as the car peels away. She realizes with a jolt that the $1,000,000 isn't for being a wife, it is hazard pay. She hasn't just married into money, she has married into a war. One The safe house is a fortress of glass and steel perched 80 floors above the city. It smells of sterilized air and expensive leather. Zaire paces the living room like a caged tiger, his phone glued to his ear as he barks orders in a mix of English and Italian. The lockdown protocols are in full effect. The elevators are cut. The windows are shuttered with steel blinds. They are sealed in. Amara sits on the edge of a sprawling beige sofa, watching him. Her hands are still shaking from the encounter in the car. She has seen poverty. She has seen desperation. But she has never seen organized violence. The dead rose is burned into her memory. Zaire ends the call and throws his phone onto the coffee table. It skids across the glass surface. He runs a hand through his hair, destroying the perfect styling. It is the first time he looks human. "Are you hungry?" he asks abruptly. He doesn't look at her. "I'm terrified," Amara answers honestly. "I don't think I can eat." Zaire stops pacing. He turns to her, his expression softening just a fraction. He walks over to the wet bar and pours a glass of amber liquid. He brings it to her. "Drink?" It settles the nerves. Amara takes the glass. Her fingers brush against his. A spark of static electricity snaps between them. Zaire doesn't pull away immediately. He stands close, looming over her, his presence overwhelming. "Why are they targeting me?" Amara whispers, looking up at him. "I'm nobody. You are the weakness," Zaire says, his voice low and rough. "They think you are a soft spot. A civilian I was forced to take in. They want to scare you off to humiliate my father." He sits down next to her, the cushion dipping under his weight. The distance between them is non-existent. They don't know that you have more steel in your spine than half my lieutenants. Amara looks at him, surprised by the compliment. Zaire is looking at her mouth. The air in the room shifts, becoming heavy and thick. The fear of the assassination attempt bleeds into a different kind of adrenaline. "I'm not afraid of hard work, Zaire," she says softly, "but I don't know how to survive bullets." "I do," Zaire says. He leans in. His hand comes up, hesitating, then cups her jaw. His thumb traces her cheekbone. "I won't let them touch you, Amara. You are under my protection. That means something." He leans closer. Amara's breath hitches. She should run. She should remember that this is a business deal. But his eyes are hypnotic, dark pools of intensity that promise safety in the middle of the storm. She leans in too. His lips are an inch from hers. She can feel the heat radiating off him. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The intercom on the wall shrieks, shattering the moment. Zaire pulls back instantly, his face hardening back into a mask of stone. He stands up, clearing his throat, turning his back on her. "That's the all clear?" he says, his voice devoid of the warmth that was there a second ago. "Pack your bag. We are moving again." 3 days later, the panic has subsided into a tense routine. Amara is at the Cross headquarters, a legitimate shipping logistics firm that covers the darker side of the business. She is supposed to be observing, learning the ropes of being a Cross wife, which mostly involves looking pretty and staying silent. She sits in the corner of the boardroom while Zaire and his advisors argue over a manifest. A shipment of electronics is stuck in customs in New Jersey. The delay is costing them millions, and Zaire is losing his temper. "Bribe the inspector," Zaire shouts, slamming his hand on the mahogany table. "Double the fee." "We tried, sir," an advisor says nervously. "It's a new guy. He's a by-the-book Fed. He won't take the envelope." Amara looks at the manifest projected on the screen. She frowns. She used to work inventory at a warehouse before the club job. She knows shipping codes. It's the weight class, she says clearly. The room goes silent. Zaire turns to her, his brow furrowed. What? The shipping code, Amara says, standing up and walking to the screen. She points to a line of numbers. You have it listed as Class A Consumer Electronics. But the weight distribution flagged it. The automated system thinks it's heavy machinery because of the pallet density. It's not the inspector, it's the algorithm. If you refile it as industrial components, the system will auto-clear it without a manual inspection. The room is dead quiet. The advisor types furiously on his laptop. A moment later, his eyes widened. She's right. The flag just cleared. The shipment is released. Zaire stares at Amara. For weeks, he has looked at her as a liability, a charity case, or a temptation. Now, he looks at her as an equal. A slow, genuine smile spreads across his face, the first real smile she has ever seen him wear. Smart, he says softly. Dangerous and smart. Before Amara can respond, the double doors burst open. Lucius's personal bodyguard rushes in, his face pale. Mr. Cross. The guard yells, ignoring protocol. It's your father. Zaire's face drains of color. What happened? He collapsed in his office, the guard says. He's not breathing. The world tilts. Zaire sprints for the door, Amara right on his heels. They rush down the hallway to the executive suite. Lucius is lying on the floor, his shirt torn open, paramedics already swarming him. The invincible king of Chicago looks small, frail, and human. Zaire freezes in the doorway, paralyzed by the sight of his father's mortality. Amara grabs his hand, squeezing it hard. He needs you, Zaire. Move. But as the paramedics load Lucius onto the stretcher, a phone rings on the desk. It's Portia's number. Zaire answers it, his hand trembling. Did you like the show? Portia's voice purrs through the speaker. The old lion is down. Now let's see how long the cub lasts. The hospital waiting room is a private suite, but it still smells like antiseptic and fear. Lucius is in a coma. The doctors say it was a heart attack induced by a chemical stressor poison. Zaire is a statue by the window, staring out at the rain. He hasn't spoken in 4 hours. The guilt is eating him alive. He thinks he failed to protect his father. The door opens. It isn't a doctor. It is Portia, flanked by 2 lawyers and a man Amara recognizes from the news arrival crime boss, dressed in a sharp suit. Get out, Zaire growls, not turning around. We have business, Zaire, Portia says, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. She throws a folder onto the table. We know who poisoned Lucius. We have proof. Zaire turns slowly. What are you talking about? The maid, Portia says, pointing a manicured finger at Amara. She made his tea this morning. We have footage of her adding something to the cup. Amara gasps. That's a lie. I put sugar in it. He asked for sugar. It was a slow-acting digitalis, the rival boss says smoothly. Very easy to mistake for sugar, and very convenient for a girl who stands to inherit $1 million if the patriarch dies and the son marries her. Zaire looks at the folder. He looks at Amara. The doubt is a physical thing in the room. He remembers his father's trust in her, but he also remembers how desperate she was for money. Zaire, Amara pleads, stepping forward. Look at me. You know I didn't do this. Zaire closes his eyes. Leave us, he says to Portia. We'll leave, Portia says, smiling. But the police are on their way with that footage. When they are gone, Zaire looks at Amara. Did you? The question breaks her heart. No. Go, Zaire says, turning back to the window. Get out of here before the police come? I can't stop them. Amara stares at his back. He isn't fighting for her. He is letting her go. She grabs her purse and runs. She runs out of the hospital, into the rain, tears blinding her. She hails a cab, intending to go to her brother to grab him and run. But as the cab pulls away, she sees Zaire's reflection in the rearview mirror. He is walking out of the hospital entrance, looking frantic. He runs into the street, shouting her name. He realized the footage was fake. He realized he made a mistake. The cab turns the corner. Zaire is left standing in the rain, alone. But Amara isn't going to run. She tells the driver to stop. She isn't leaving him to fight Portia alone. She opens the door and steps back into the storm. Amara doesn't go back to Zaire immediately. She goes to the one place Portia wouldn't expect, the Sovereign. If Portia planted the poison, she did it through someone on the inside. Amara knows the staff. She knows the invisible people. She sneaks in through the kitchen entrance. The staff are huddled in the back, terrified. Who made the tea? Amara asks the head chef, gripping his arm. It was Leo, the chef whispers. The waiter Portia fired. She hired him back yesterday as a private server. Amara's blood runs cold. It was a setup. She calls Zaire. It's Leo. She screams into the phone. Portia is using Leo. He's the poisoner. Where are you? Zaire's voice is panicked. Amara, they are hitting the warehouse. It's an ambush. Stay away. I'm coming to you, she says, hanging up. She steals a catering van and drives to the warehouse district. The sky is lit up with sirens and gunfire. The Viper's Portia's new Alizar raiding the Cross shipments. Amara drives the van through the back gate, smashing through the chain-link fence. She sees Zaire and his men pinned down behind a row of shipping containers. Zaire is firing a handgun, his shoulder bloody. She slams on the brakes and honks the horn, creating a diversion. The Viper's turn, confused. Get in. Amara screams, sliding the side door open. Zaire looks at her like she is a guardian angel driving a catering truck. He grabs his injured lieutenant, and they dive into the back of the van. Amara floors it, swerving through the maze of crates, bullets pinging off the metal sides. You came back, Zaire gasps, crawling to the front seat. He is bleeding, his shirt soaked in red. I told you, Amara says, her hands gripping the wheel white-knuckled. I don't steal, and I don't run. They crash through the main gate, leaving the Vipers behind. Zaire looks at her, really looks at her. With awe, he reaches over and covers her hand on the gear shift. His blood stains her skin, but it feels like a promise. I love you, he says. It isn't romantic. It is a desperate confession in the middle of a war zone. I love you, Amara. 6 months later, the ballroom of the Cross estate is filled with white roses. The elite of Chicago are gathered, whispering, waiting. Lucius Cross sits in the front row. He is in a wheelchair, frail but alive. His eyes are sharp as ever. He nods approval as Zaire stands at the altar. Zaire looks different. The hardness is still there, but the cruelty is gone. He checks his watch, nervous. Then the doors open. Amara steps out. She isn't wearing the gray uniform of a maid. She is wearing a gown of ivory silk that flows like water. She walks down the aisle, head held high. She isn't invisible anymore. She is the most visible person in the room. When she reaches Zaire, he takes her hands. His grip is warm and solid. You saved my life, he whispers. You saved my family. You saved yourself, Amara whispers back. The priest begins the ceremony, but Zaire interrupts. He turns to the crowd. Before we continue, he says, his voice projecting to the back of the room, I want to make something clear. This woman didn't marry me for my money. She returned it when she found it in the trash. She is the only reason the Cross legacy stands today. He looks at Amara. I give you my name, my life, and my loyalty. No expiration date, no limit. He slips the ring onto her finger. It isn't a diamond. It is a band of black titanium, set with a single rare white stone, a reminder of where they started. I do, Amara says. They kiss, and the room erupts in applause. In the back, security guards escort a weeping Portia out of the building she tried to crash the wedding, only to be barred by the very staff she used to torment. Flash forward, 5 years later. The Chicago skyline glitters. Inside the Cross skyscraper, Amara sits at the head of the boardroom table. Zaire sits to her right. Malik, now a healthy college graduate, sits to her left, interning for the firm. Amara signs a document authorizing a massive charity grant for medical research. She puts the pen down and looks at the black card sitting on the desk. It's scratched now, worn from use, but she keeps it there as a reminder. She isn't just the wife of the boss. She is the boss. And she runs the empire the way she cleaned the tables, with integrity, with hard work, and with eyes wide open. Before you go, hit that subscribe button if you believe good people deserve to win. What would you have done with the black card? Kept it or returned it? Let me know in the comments below.